Hi, this is Mark Graban. Welcome to Lean Blog Audio. This is episode 332. This is a post that was published on June 12th, 2023, titled A Near Miss with Amazon's Publishing Platform, Save, Draft, or Publish. My new book, The Mistakes That Make Us, Cultivating a Culture of Learning and Innovation, is still only in a draft state before the final proofreading. Actually, the proofreading is taking place right now. You can learn more about the book and get a preview, by the way, by going to mistakesbook.com. So trying to get some proof copies or advance copies that aren't supposed to be sold because it's printed on the cover, not for resale. But anyway, getting these printed by Amazon, as I'm doing as part of the final stages of the publishing process here, sure does open up the possibility of mistakenly hitting a yellow button on the Amazon screen that says publish your paperback book instead of the button just to the left of it that I wanted to click that says save as draft. And there's a screenshot in the blog post. You can go to leanblog.org/audio 332. Now, I didn't make that mistake. It's a near miss, but it's something that's sort of identified as a risk for me and other authors and publishers. I wasn't sure at the time if there is some sort of step that happens if you accidentally hit publish by mistake. Does it pop up and ask, are you sure? And look, are you sure? Dialog boxes are by no means perfect mistake proofing. But based on a Google search looking at this, you find the panicked questions of people who mistakenly hit that button. So I'm guessing there is no confirmation, or at least there's not good enough mistake proofing. I've made a mistake like this before with a podcast episode on the My Favorite Mistake podcast. I hit publish instead of save draft. I wrote a blog post about that and other podcasting mistakes. There's a link in the blog post. But on the Anchor podcasting platform, I was able to unpublish it without causing too many problems. I think the worst thing is that the episode appeared in some people's podcast apps before the audio then disappeared when I unpublished it, which probably threw an error message if they tried to hit play. So a little embarrassing, a little frustrating on my part. Again, that system, the publish button and the draft button were real close to each other. So having to unpublish a book, I figured would cause more problems with Amazon. Now, I did some more Google searching. It seems like, not surprisingly, this happens a lot. It's easy to unpublish immediately, especially if nobody has yet purchased the book. And this depends on you noticing right away that you hit the wrong button by mistake. You might notice on screen, or I'm guessing that Amazon, in my experience with them, they'll send an email to you announcing that you've published your book. Now, it seems like a form of mistake proofing where the system has been designed in a way so that the user can at least easily detect and undo a mistake. We can think of this as a mitigation strategy. But better yet is preventing mistakes. Telling people, authors and publishers, I made up a word combining officer. Telling people to be careful is not a fully effective strategy. Now, maybe Amazon could move those two buttons, the publish and save draft buttons, to be a little further apart. The bright yellow publish button is still likely to draw your eye and mouse to it, even if you intend to click draft, which is kind of a boring light gray button. So when we make a mistake like this, it's called human error. Some people ask, well, what can we do since people are imperfect? Well, what we can do is recognize, what we have to do is that we recognize that humans are imperfect and then go design systems that prevent errors, protecting us from ourselves instead of just throwing up our hands in frustration. Instead of being resigned to human error, we can work to prevent it through better systems and better design. When I had posted an earlier, briefer version of this on LinkedIn, there was an insightful comment from Sid Atkinson. He said, developers and testers typically experience these workflows so often that they forget that many of us will ever only perform some of these tasks once. The number of non-intuitive workflows or things that utterly lack clarity fills oceans. I think this will be one of the biggest steps forward we'll make in these experiences will come from the interfaceless app. In other words, like AI models like ChatGPT will allow us to talk to something to accomplish our goals with more human-esque validation happening prior to an activity being completed. End of quote. Again, Thanks to Sid Atkinson for his comment. So I'd say keep this all in mind if you're the designer of software or other interfaces. Instead of saying, well, the human user shouldn't do that, it's better to make it more difficult for them to do the wrong thing and to make it easier for them to do the right thing. So again, for this blog post, if you want to read it, if you want to see the screenshot, if you want to post a comment criticizing me for not being careful enough or almost not being careful enough, you can go to leanblog.org/audio332.